After 12 straight hours of rain, the city's underground drainage system started failing all over Sector 7. By 2 a.m., multiple flood alerts were going off beneath the city. One maintenance worker had already gone down to inspect the blockage, but after an hour underground, he stopped responding over the radio. So another worker named Marcus was sent in alone to find him. The storm drain tunnels were massive, old concrete corridors stretching far beneath the city. Most of them hadn't been fully inspected in years. Marcus's flashlight barely reached 30 feet ahead before the darkness swallowed the rest of the tunnel. At first, everything looked normal, just shallow water, concrete walls, pipes overhead. Then about 40 meters in, he found the first arrow, spray painted on the wall in bright orange, clean, fresh, and pointing deeper underground. Further inside, the tunnel split into multiple directions. That's when Marcus noticed footprints in the muddy water near the right corridor. Recent ones, but they weren't from the missing worker, and whoever made them had gone much deeper into the tunnels. A few minutes later, Marcus started hearing something metallic echoing somewhere ahead. Not loud, just a slow repeating sound deep in the system, like metal shifting somewhere far underground. Then he noticed the second arrow. This one had been painted directly onto the ceiling above him, perfectly centered, like whoever painted it wanted to make sure nobody missed it. About 10 minutes later, Marcus finally reached the reported blockage. A pile of debris jammed against one of the intake screens, exactly where the system report said it would be. He documented it, radioed it in, and honestly, that should have been the end of the job. But a few meters past the blockage, Marcus noticed a maintenance door built into the tunnel wall. At first, it looked normal, just another old access point, until he looked closer. The writing on the door matched official city maintenance markings. Same yellow paint, same stencil style, but the codes didn't exist on any city map Marcus had ever seen. None of it was real, at least officially. Then Marcus noticed something else. The padlock hanging from the door had already been opened. Someone had used the door recently. The corridor beyond looked much older than the rest of the storm drain system. Brick walls instead of concrete. Narrower tunnels, lower ceilings. This part of the city's underground infrastructure wasn't supposed to be active anymore. Most of it had been abandoned decades earlier, but someone had run electrical cables through the tunnels. Orange extension cords zip-tied carefully along the walls, leading deeper underground. Marcus stopped and radioed dispatch again. This time, the response came through buried in static. "Marcus, stay where you are. Do not continue further." Then the signal cut out completely, so Marcus kept moving. A few minutes later, the tunnel opened into a large underground chamber, and that's when Marcus realized someone had been living down there. There was a sleeping mat against the wall, stacks of canned food, water containers, old tools, a coat hanging from a rusted pipe. Everything organized carefully, like whoever used the space planned on staying there for a very long time. But the strangest part wasn't the camp, it was the walls. Every wall in the chamber was covered with maps, not printed ones. Hand-drawn, hundreds of pages taped together across the brick walls. They showed tunnels Marcus had never seen before. Passages beneath passages. Entire sections of the city hidden underneath the official drainage system. Some of the maps looked decades old. Others looked recently updated. And spread across all of them, the same orange arrows kept appearing over and over again, leading deeper underground. In the middle of the largest map, someone had drawn a red circle. Marcus just stared at it for a second. Because the circle wasn't marking the chamber, it was marking something below it. That's when he noticed the light. Faint orange light shining through one of the old drainage grates in the floor. At first, Marcus thought it was another reflection from his flashlight. But when he shut the flashlight off, the light was still there, coming from somewhere underneath the chamber. Then he heard it. Not footsteps, not movement. Pages turning slowly somewhere below him in the dark. Marcus dropped to one knee beside the grate and looked down through the gaps. And somewhere deep beneath the floor, another flashlight switched on, pointing directly back up at him. The missing worker was never found. The city sealed the maintenance access beneath Pump Station 7C the following morning. Officially, the underground corridor was listed as abandoned infrastructure with no active access points. 3 weeks later, workers returned to replace the padlock after reports that the door had been left open again. The new lock was already hanging broken from the chain. In late October, 2 survey contractors were working in the Cold Ridge area of Wyoming before a new pipeline project. While checking elevation data, one of them noticed something strange. Their GPS kept detecting underground structures that didn't match any public terrain maps. At first, they assumed it was old mining infrastructure, but after following the signal deeper into the woods, they found a fenced-off concrete structure hidden beneath the hillside. Most of it was covered by decades of overgrowth, and mounted beside the entrance was an old government warning sign. The bunker entrance was sealed with a massive Cold War blast door built directly into the hill. From a distance, it looked untouched for decades. Rust everywhere, faded military paint, collapsed fencing around the entrance. But one detail immediately felt wrong. The ground directly in front of the door was completely clear. Pine needles covered the entire hillside, except for a clean stretch of concrete leading directly to the entrance, like someone had swept it recently. The contractors tried the door expecting it to be sealed shut. Instead, the handle turned immediately, and when the blast door opened, the hinges made absolutely no sound. The corridor beyond sloped downward beneath the hill. Old emergency light cages lined the ceiling. Every single one was dead. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, and after a few minutes, they started noticing footprints in the dust. Not fresh, but recent enough that the edges were still sharp. Some led deeper into the bunker, others led back out, which meant one thing: whoever had been down there had returned multiple times. The bunker walls were covered in old Cold War warning labels and military zone markings. Most of them looked original, but mixed between them were smaller black markings written by hand. Numbers, letters, symbols, like someone had been navigating through the bunker using their own internal system. And the deeper they went, the more of the markings started appearing. At the bottom of the corridor, the bunker opened into a large control room filled with old Cold War equipment. Rows of dead monitors, rotary control panels, dust-covered consoles bolted to the floor. Most of it looked untouched since the 1980s, except for one thing. Someone had installed a modern electrical panel beside the original military systems. Not government equipment, just a normal civilian breaker board. Several switches were still turned on. One of the contractors just stared at it for a second before saying, "That's not original." The other one didn't answer, because both of them already knew what that meant. Someone had rewired part of the bunker recently. One corridor led deeper into an area. Most of the bunker doors were old military steel, but this one was different. A newer padlock had been installed across the entrance. No rust, no corrosion, and from the other side of the door, they could hear something running quietly inside. A low mechanical hum, like cooling fans or ventilation systems. Then they noticed cold air flowing out beneath the door, which meant whatever was inside was still active. The contractors stood there for a while without speaking. Neither of them tried opening the door. Up until that point, they still thought maybe someone was illegally using the bunker for storage or shelter. But the deeper they went, the harder that became to believe, because this place wasn't just occupied. It was being maintained carefully and for a very long time. Near the control room, they found what used to be the bunker's old storage area. Emergency radios still sealed inside their boxes, and written across the edge of one shelf in black marker was a single word: reserve. One of the contractors started photographing everything. The other one just kept looking toward the communications corridor. Then they found the calendar, hanging partially hidden behind the ductwork. Current year, current month. Several dates had been marked with small pencil lines, not random, a repeating pattern, like someone keeping track of scheduled visits. And the next marked date was only 4 days away. The contractors left the bunker a few minutes later. Neither of them said much on the way back up, but near the entrance, One of them noticed something running along the hillside above the blast door, a thin cable buried just beneath the dirt, carefully hidden between the rocks and trees. They followed it up the ridge until it connected to a small directional antenna mounted beneath a rock outcrop. And when they checked the alignment, the antenna was pointed directly toward the nearest cellular relay tower, which meant the bunker wasn't abandoned. Something inside was still transmitting signals to the outside world. Regularly, the two men got back into their truck without speaking. For a while, neither of them even started the engine. They just sat there staring at the bunker entrance through the windshield. Then one of them noticed something moving. The blast door, slowly swinging shut by itself. And right before the door fully closed, they both realized the same thing. The bunker door wasn't drifting shut from the outside. Someone inside the facility was pulling it closed.